Not every car likes their owner. Some cars are not perfect and have hidden secrets. Some cars would rather have you dead than alive. So here are 10 cars that will try to kill you. Before we start, I would like to say, Happy Halloween. Roof CTR Yellowbird. The first Turbo 911 was insane. It was fast, furious, awesome, and already a very dangerous machine. However, this went up to 11 when German automaker Roof got their hands on one and turned it into the CTR Yellowbird. With 469 brake horsepower, a 5-speed manual gearbox, and a rear engine rear-wheel drive layout, you see the face of death itself every time you turn the ignition. The Yellowbird lapped the Nürburgring in 8 minutes and 5 seconds, while it spun its wheels around every single corner. If a skilled racing driver could barely keep it in control, then what chance have you got? Audi 5000. Audi's simple saloon was a big hit in the USA, until some drivers realised sudden acceleration when trying to apply the brakes. Audi was sued, as it was believed that the automatic transmission was the culprit. This issue killed 6 people. Audi couldn't find anything wrong with the 5000. It worked 100%. However, a US primetime show called 60 Minutes rigged the transmission so that it would fail, automatically putting the car from brake to drive. Audi was shafted massively, but soon after, Audi found the original issue. The 5000's brake pedal was smaller than normal, so when people thought they were hitting the brake, they were actually hitting the accelerator. Despite this being a massive issue in the US, European cars didn't recall of such an issue, probably because the European motorists are much more... what's the word, James?
What's the word I'm looking for? Intelligent.
Yes.
Hennessy Venom GT. The Venom GT was basically a Lotus, which was stretched to fit a 7-litre twin-turbo V8, producing 1,244 brake horsepower. That weighed 1,244 kilograms, and to top it off, you add a manual gearbox. If a Lotus wasn't hard enough to drive, then fuck me to tears. This thing must be crazy. The light chassis and big power allow the Venom GT to hit 270 miles an hour. It's so simple that it's so hard to drive. By the way, there's a convertible version, but my god, only a maniac who wears sandals with socks would buy one of those. Dodge Viper. The first gen Dodge Viper was an 8-litre V10 sports car with stars, stripes and eagles. It was fast, badass and deadly. With 400 brake horsepower, you really needed to be very skilled before even thinking about driving one of these. The car had no airbags, a cheap fiberglass roof, no traction control, no ABS, or indeed any kind of stability control, as prices needed to be kept at a low. Despite all these vital features not being included, the Viper could hit 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds, and 165 miles an hour. Even at low speeds, the Viper can lose control at any second. Say hi to the Grim Reaper for me, will ya? Ford Pinto. Due to a tragic design flaw, the Ford Pinto's fuel tank was very close to the car's rear axle. This meant that on any form of rear impact, the rear axle would puncture the fuel tank, causing the car to go on fire. Ford faced massive lawsuits, and instead of fixing the problem, Ford left the problem, as they believed that paying off the lawsuits and feeling the guilt of the people harmed was much better than doing the right thing. GWiz. The once best-selling electric car and still the best-selling eternal virginity capsule, the GWiz came to fame through Top Gear blowing one up once a week. The GWiz was classified as a heavy quadricycle due to its small size, so that it could skip every single crash test for cars. At 35 miles an hour, a driver could face serious injuries or death. That's if the battery didn't die before you crashed. In fact, Jeremy Clarkson proved that a table is faster and safer than a GWiz. Nissan 350Z, an attractive, fast, sporty and deadly car, The 350Z is more than meets the eye. Its 3.5 litre V6 produced just under 300 brake horsepower. Its FR layout made the 350Z a very popular car with critics, tuners and drifters. However, a base 350Z didn't include vital features such as stability and traction control, so that meant that inexperienced drivers who bought one often ended up sliding their 350Zs into whatever will kill them. Toyota MR2. With plenty of power, a lightweight chassis, and an MR layout, you can't go wrong with the MR2. However, early SW20 models suffered from snap oversteer at any given moment. This was due to the suspension being set up by Death himself, and simply the lack of experience of the driver. If you drive one, you die in one. Porsche Carrera GT. The Porsche Carrera GT had already developed a fearsome reputation shortly after it was released. Jay Leno once managed to spin his Carrera GT on track, and while testing the Carrera GT, Walter Roll, the Group B rally superstar, said that he found it tricky at times. Its 612 brake horsepower 5.7 litre V10 engine means that it could do serious speed, while having a carbon fibre chassis and a lack of electronic assistance. The biggest tragedy about the Carrera GT was in 2013, when actor Paul Walker and his friend Roger Rodas were killed in an accident due to speeding, the Carrera GT's unforgiving nature, and 9-year-old tyres. The Smart Fortwo. The Smart Fortwo was Mercedes' attempt at making a city car for normal people. It shared a lot of components with the Mercedes A-Class, a car that lacked electronic stability control, which was evident as while it was being tested by a Swedish car magazine in the famous Moose test, the car nearly rolled over. It also had very skinny tyres, which meant that it understeered safely. But the worst part about the Smart was its looks. Its head-on collision safety. While being tested by the IIHS, it collided with a C-Class Mercedes, where it flung into the air and rotated 450 degrees. Testers said that there were very little crumple zones, so do the right thing and buy a normal car.